Dallas isn't that good. They're not that bad, although I thought the Giants were really there's two bad teams. The Giants were worse. But even if you think they're like an 8-8-ish team, the way you make, which most teams are more or less in that middle pack, the way you make the playoffs is by beating the bad teams, and Seattle's a bad team. I know Russell Wilson and everything, but that's a bad team. You have to win these kind of games. This is the difference between the Cowboys being 9-7, maybe having a shot to make the playoffs if they're better than that, and having a losing season or struggling to get to 500. These are the games you must win if you are Dallas.
For me personally, I don't think it's a must-win for Dallas as much as I think it's a must-win for Seattle. Number one, because as I repeatedly state, the NFC East is a dogfight. It is every year. You can win that division at 9-7, and they're going to beat up on each other. So the fact that the Dallas Cowboys are 1-1 right now, that's one thing. The other thing is when you look at Seattle right now, you can't go into an 0-3 hole. If 90% of the teams that start off 0-2 don't make the postseason, what's it going to be if you're 0-3? They lost the first two games of the season, Seattle. Both of them were on the road. That was a close game that they lost to the Denver Broncos, and it wasn't a blowout that they lost to Chicago on Monday night. Let's keep that in mind as well. And so when we look at it from that perspective, their offensive line is in shambles. I would tell you I'm worried about Seattle because going up against the Dallas Cowboys defensive line, particularly with that offensive line, it's going to be a challenge for them. But I think I think if you lose a game, if it were in Dallas, even if you started out 0-3, as bad as that would be, I think it's catastrophic, Will, to start off the season 0-2 on the road and then have your first game at home at that stadium, and you lose to the Dallas Cowboys to go 0-3, I don't believe Seattle recovers from that. They've got to win this game to salvage this season.
I don't want to turn you into Fred Sanford here, but Stephen A., you're right. I don't want to give you a...
Elizabeth, I'm coming home to join you. You know what I was getting ready to joke about? Did you see Max, as an aside, did you see Max do the Emmitt Smith pose when Emmitt Smith used to do work for us for the NFL Sunday? Max said something about us, and then he went like this.
Did you
see it? Did you see it?
I missed
All right,
that.
go ahead, man. Go ahead.
It's absolutely not a must-win for the Dallas Cowboys, but it is a damn sure should win.
Oh, a damn sure should win.
That's a new category.
What's the distinction here?
It's a new category. It's a damn sure should. Look, if they go 1-2,
way to take a position.
If they go 1-2, their season is not on the line. If they go 1-2, they can still get where they need to get. But this is not just a nice little opponent, like you point out, that you should beat on the way to your better season. But this is the perfect matchup. We just saw the Seattle Seahawks destroyed. That offensive line destroyed by the Chicago Bears. Khalil Mack is tied for the league in quarterback pressures this year. Know who he's tied with? DeMarcus Lawrence of the Dallas Cowboys. This defensive line...
War Daddy?
He's a war. A few weeks ago, by the way, you told me the Cowboys didn't have one of those.
Well, I may have been mistaken.
I remember things.
Well,
that Cowboys defense is real, and that Cowboys pass rush is real. Russell Wilson's going to be running for his life again, and if he's not, then the Cowboys failed. They damn sure should win. Hold on, because let me give you your credit.
I thought you were saying.
No, because here's what you're right. If it's a must-win for somebody, it's a must-win for the Seahawks. And I'm going to tell you something. 0-3 is more than just season on the line. I'm telling you, the Seahawks have long looks in the mirror about coaching staff. And I'm going to tell you something else. They're going to have to ask themselves, is Russell Wilson the kind of quarterback that deserves all the money, the kind of money that you can't build a team around a guy with?
Well, I disagree with you there. I think he's proven that he is because of you haven't given him any help in his offensive line or a running game.
And they're 0-2.
Well, I'm saying, but it ain't his fault.
But how many quarterbacks can you say deserve the kind of money where the rest of the roster is deprived? How many?
I'm not saying that. Aaron Rodgers, to me,
right.
That Drew Brees.
That may be the only one is Aaron Rodgers.
So I'm not making that argument. What I'm saying to you is when you consider the fact that this guy is running for his life and his abilities extend plays, extends an offense being on the field, giving a defense a reprieve on far more often occasions than they deserve, I can't ignore that component about Russell Wilson. I truly can't. But the other thing I'll get back to you about your Cowboys. Let's pump the brakes on this in this respect.
What?
Who did Dallas Cowboys go against week 1? Carolina.
That's right.
Is that offense knocking your socks off? No. Who did they go against in week 2?
Giants.
Is that offense knocking your socks? So let's calm down.
Let's get back to the Cowboys.
For me to get to the resume. Let's calm down.
Can we get back to the Cowboys?
Can
we get back to the Cowboys for a second? Because the question is it must win for Dallas? But we're good. Is it must win for Seattle? Here are the various scenarios, right?
Okay.
Seattle could be 0-3. They're not going to make the playoffs. But I have news for you. They're not a good team. They go 1-2. They ain't make the playoffs either. And I have news for you. Dallas isn't a really good team.
That.
If they go 1-2, they're not making the playoffs.
3, you know.
The only chance that I see for either of these two teams to win the playoffs is Dallas at 2-1, meaning it's a doesn't matter win in every other scenario except for Dallas going 2-1.
But factually, you're incorrect because even you have admitted on numerous occasions, and I'll go to you, Will, even you have admitted on numerous occasions what the dogfight exists within the NFC East. So you can't sit up there and
write them off
in the NFC East when you've acknowledged how tough the division is and how much they beat up on each other.
And here's why it's so much more on the Seahawks, why it's so much more of a must-win, because we're not just talking about the playoffs.
Cowboys, I've written them off.
Props.
That's right.
Got the carrot top.
We didn't get it on camera.
Watermelon and a giant hem. Oh, that's Gallagher. Okay.
Gotcha.
Now, man, there's more on the line for the Seahawks than just a playoff run. I'm telling you, they have a identity issue. They have a who's going to lead this team in the future issue. And 0-3 brings all those things to the forefront. As for you and the Dallas Cowboys, by the same token, let me tell you something. How's that Carolina Panthers D? Pretty good.
Pretty damn good.
How's that New York Giants D? Pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Before you come down,
Olivier Vernon is hurt.
It's a good D. It's a good D.
We don't really. Why do we not know about the Giants D? Who did they go against week 1? Blake Bortles. Who did they go against in week 2? Dak Prescott.
The point is,
I'm
you're
just
writing
saying,
off the Cowboys offense on some pretty good Ds.
I'm not writing them off. I'm saying there's still a question mark. You sitting up here acting like their defense is such studs. We haven't seen it.
Watch this.
Will,
I got props too. Watch this. By the end of the season, Cowboys defense easily top 10, probably top 5 defense.
Okay, but